Hi everybody, this is Steve Ludwig, host of Steve Ludwig's Classic Pop Culture and the Beatles Hour with Steve Ludwig at planetludwig.com. Here's an interview we did with Gary DeCARLO of Steam, Na Na Hey Hey Kiss 'Em Goodbye, on September 10th, 2013. Show number 6. This is actually our first interview that we've done with Gary. To hear the entire show, including very cool music and retro commercials, check out the menu at planetludwig.com. And now, please enjoy the interview. Yes. The man who wrote that classic song, Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Goodbye, Mr. Gary DeCARLO. Gary, thank you so much for being with us.
No, not a problem, Steve. I'm happy that you asked me. This is great for me. I love it.
We're happy you said yes. Now, you know, that's the song itself. We know, everyone knows the chorus, Na Na Hey Hey, but for me, the lyrics are, he'll never love you the way that I love you.
Absolutely.
He's never near you to comfort and cheer you. Those are everyone can relate to those lyrics. How'd you come about writing that song? I mean, there's such a backstory that we have to get to, Gary, but why don't you take us from the start?
You see, actually, I'm a co-writer. You know that.
Yes,
that.
I know.
That was written with by Paul Lecca, Dale Frazier, and myself. But see, the one of the easy things for me to write anyway is about love and stuff, because like you said, everyone experiences it and everybody relates to it. So basically, that at the time was just something that we were all going through, with a girl or whatever, and it just happened to click together. The chant wasn't written until later. The original song was called just Kiss 'Em Goodbye, and it was a blues shuffle, which I really like shuffles, and the chant was born the night that it was recorded.
And now what year are we talking about, Gary?
That was 1969.
Okay, 69. And so the lyrics were written, and was the chorus almost an afterthought, or?
Well, the chorus...
the Na Na Hey Hey part.
The Na Na chorus was done that night in the studio, and it wasn't like a lot of people are under the impression that when Paul started to sing the Na Na thing, that it was in lieu of not having words, but it was just that Na Na was a phrase, or I don't know if you call it a phrase, but words that were used by a lot of people. I mean, in Land of a Thousand Dances, the million songs have it, where people just use it as an ad lib, Na Na, whatever, and as I was standing at the piano with him, he was running over the pattern of the way the song was going to be. He had it all na 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 goodbye. So I put the hey hey in it at the piano, and it worked, and it stayed that way.
That really made all the difference in the world.
Yeah,
the hey, I'm telling you. Hey Jude comes to mind too with another na na song.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, now, the song becomes a hit, and certainly deservedly so. But it wasn't the A-side originally, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a B-side. The way this all evolved is that I had cut 4 sides for Mercury Records, and the company felt that all 4 sides were A-sides. So we were trying to put out Working on a Groovy Thing, which was written by Neil Sedaka. Now, that was my A-side, and that's the side that I thought was the strongest. So we were all set for that to come out, and the Fifth Dimension beat us by 1 week. So we had to go back to the drawing board, and then they liked Sweet Lorelei, which was a ballad. Now that was written by Larry Weiss, who wrote Rhinestone Cowboy. Larry's a good writer. He's a nice guy and everything, but I didn't want to lead with a ballad. But they wanted to do that. So anyway, I needed a B-side for Sweet Lorelei. And we went into the studio, And I told Dale, I said, Dale, tell Paul that I want to do Kiss Him Goodbye. And, Dale told him, and, we started working on it in the studio that night. We went in about, 7 o'clock at night in Mercury in New York. And it was done by 5 in the morning, just the way you hear it on the radio.
Oh, my gosh, wow. As a singer-songwriter, do you think, or do you find yourself, like, to you, what's a hit? Do you listen to it as a fan, wouldn't say this is definitely a hit, or are you more technical as a singer-songwriter, deciding what would be the hit and what wouldn't be?
I would say we're more technical. That's one of the problems about being critical and being overly critical sometimes, rather than just saying, look, it's good enough, or in some cases you write something and it's not as good as you want it to be. So you just got to push it aside. It's like having kids, like having children. Some of them are going to be good, some of them are not going to be good. You know what I mean?
And you're going to love them all.
yeah, absolutely, because you created them. But some are going to be really good, and that's what happened with this. Now, we knew that we had something, but never in our wildest dreams. I don't think anybody that was ever connected to it would say that it would run its course for 44 years. I mean, this is a long time.
And 7.5 million records sold later.
By the way. It's this December 6th, it will be 44 years that it went number one.
Wow. I don't think there's anybody, Gary, that listens to music. A 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, they know this song. It's a part of our fabric.
Well, they you know what it is too, Steve. A lot of people were talking about this, and when you think about it, a lot of the younger generation thought it was just a chant, because of the football and the stuff that's done at the stadiums, and they didn't realize that there were lyrics to it. And
I mean, lyrics, like I said, universal lyrics about love that everyone can relate to. Before we go any further, Gary, too, I do want to mention to the listeners there is an excellent book called Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye. Mary Rose Cinto, am I pronouncing it correctly, Gary?
Yes.
Mary Rose Cinto, Scinto. I read the book. It's an excellent book, everyone. I mean, Gary tells the whole story. A lot of what we're not going to get to today, really check out in this book. It's called Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye, Mary Rose Cinto. And it was kind of like a narrative, right? Mary pretty much interviewed you, and you're really a co-writer. I mean, that's what I got out of it. Although
I gave her the writer's rights, because she wants to be a writer, and I thought I'd help her out that way. But the book is available on Amazon. It's also available through the Author House, which is the publisher. And I'm trying to think of the other one. There's another.
Well, I know through ebooks too. You can just download it. Gary, I bought a hard copy and I downloaded it from my ebooks when I saw you in Connecticut I forgot to bring my book with me. I wanted you to sign it. So next time we meet up. Now, okay. Now, were you guys called Steam? This is the whole other part of the thing.
Yeah, that is another thing that is kind of weird with what happened. The group that went out on the road was nothing but a road group. They were hired to go out on the road. Now, the reason that happened was because I was told when that record was done that I could be Gary DeCARLO. I could be Garrett Scott, and I could have both of them. Those were supposed to be what the plan was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happened was when the thing started to take off, Paul said to me, the record company, wants a group. I said, Paul, I don't have a group. You were supposed to get me a group, you told me, from a booking agent in New York City, because he was telling me to stay away from the bands and the people that I was doing business with when I was doing the club circuit here in Bridgeport and Stratford and that area.
And why did he tell you that, Kat? If you don't mind me interrupting, why did he tell you that?
I have no idea. I don't know. Yeah. I have no idea. I don't know why he told me that. As far as I know, he told me that he would get me a group. I guess he felt that getting a group that's already together I worked with a group called the Orchids, big horn band, and they were ready. They were ready to do something, but he told me not to work with them. I mean, there's so many things to this that is odd. I mean, in the first place, why did the record have to be split? Why couldn't it remain a B-side? When think about it, we knocked the Beatles out of number one. They had a two-sided hit.
Yep.
It was come together in something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, and a lot of disc jockeys do play B-sides. He said, you know, he said no. He said that you know, it wouldn't get heard and it wouldn't get played. So that made no sense to me.
No, I'll tell you, Gary. Reading the book, a few of the things didn't make sense. What they really did to you. I mean, they, you know, I'm glad things are turning out in your favor now. But boy, at the time, so they sent this bogus group out. Is that right? Yeah,
absolutely. And the reason that they wound up singing some of the things on the album, see, Steve, they didn't play on the single, and they didn't play on the entire album. That's all studio people. Now, on the original record, that's Paul doing a bunch of overdubs and me playing percussion on a board.
Mm-hmm. And so people know that's you singing lead on the song that we all know and love.
Yes, absolutely. Now, you know, people, all they have to do is go on YouTube and punch in my name and listen to the first video, the PBS video, and you know, they'll be able to hear that I'm the same voice that was on that record.
Yeah, I was going to get to that later on, but being you brought it up, it's a perfect time to go into it now. With the PBS, My Music 60s, you finally...
pop, rock, and soul.
Pop, rock, and soul. For me, Gary, seeing you up there, I said, it may not be perfect closure, but here's the man who this song is, Gary DeCARLO. And there you are closing the show, singing... Yeah. In as good a voice as ever. Nah, hey, hey, kiss goodbye. Now, take us through that. You were invited, long overdue.
Yeah,
you were invited.
Yeah. I got a phone call from Henry DeLuca, who books the acts for T.J. Lubinsky, and he said to me, you know, would you be willing to do a show in Pittsburgh? And you know, he explained some things to me, and I said, absolutely. I said, yeah, I'm ready to go. And I went there, and I'll tell you, everything was first class. They really know how to treat people. They pick you up at the airport. They had food there. They very, very nice. Very professional. And it was a kick, man, to see the audience all standing up and waving their arms and singing and closing the show. That was something for me.
I'm sure there were more than a few performers that came up and wanted to meet you. That must have been a thrill. Yeah, it was. I'll tell you the truth. I had them coming to me and telling me that how much they liked the song and what they were doing at the time, and it was amazing because, you know, here I am in awe of them, and they're asking me to take pictures with them, and some of them asked me for an autograph and stuff. I thought that was, you know, pretty cool. Well, but it was so well deserved, Gary. I'm so happy that
I'm glad
came
you
out
feel
so
that
well.
way, Steve. You know, unfortunately, along the way, I didn't have a lot of support, and that was only because so many things were said, and so many things were crisscrossed, like in the press and online, and that people were confused and didn't really know what was going on. So basically, it's like when they see something in print, it's like it's law, you know.
Yeah.
They just feel that that's got to be right because it's written that way.
Yeah.
And you know, like it wasn't right.
All right, now we're going to go back again. This bogus group is on the road. They just named it Steam. Do you even know the reason why they called it Steam? They just thought it sounded cool.
we were crossing 7th Avenue, going back to the studio because we were working on the album, and as we crossed the street, there was a subway came underneath the street, and steam shot out from the manhole, and that's how the name popped up.
All right. Now, did you go to see them perform?
Yes. Yeah.
Gary.
I saw them.
Oh, okay.
I saw them at the what was it? Not the Whiskey, the Cheetah. They auditioned at the Cheetah, and you know, I listened to him, and I was with this guy Billy Rose, who went into business with Paul later on as a partner in the studio in Bridgeport, and I said to Billy, I said, I don't want to do this, man. I said, I don't want this to happen. And, you know, like he said to me, you know, well, there's nothing that you could do. You know, and that was the case. I tell you, this really put me in a bad place, man, for a long time, because I couldn't understand it. Steve, you got to think about this now. There's something. If I went to a record company and I took a shot with someone and the guy burnt me, I'd say, okay, man, you learned a lesson from this. The guy burned you. You got to be careful next time. But when you get burnt by somebody you know since you were 14 years old, and it's supposed to be your friend, and you think he's going to watch your back, man, that's not cool at all. There's enough people out there to burn.
Yep. I don't know. Did you? I guess this is a rhetorical question. I mean, I'm sure you must have gone through some sort of depression, or I'm sure anger, depression, all the.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to the point where it was really affecting me. I mean, I couldn't sleep. You know, I had to go for you know, like these B12 shots and stuff, and you know, put me on sleeping pills, and then I was a mess. You know, and then people would say, you know, like I was gun shy at that point. Like when people would approach me, I had so many people that approached me for deals. And I would just shy away from it because I felt that you know, I couldn't trust anyone at that point.
So if you can't trust one of your teenage friends, I understand completely. My gosh! So now you see this video with this guy with this mustache,
right?
I don't know. I mean, I applaud you for.
I tell you what hurt me too, Steve, is watching them on American Bandstand.
Oh,
they didn't actually give them the record. You know, as a kid, that I used to watch American Bandstand all the time.
Sure.
And I said, you know, one day I'm going to be on that show, and that was my opportunity. And here they were doing it. And if you watch that video of him singing, his mouth is nowhere in sync with. Oh yeah, if you watch the video, which is on all over the internet,
sure.
If you watch that, you watch his mouth as he's singing, he's nowhere in sync with the vocal, and they couldn't duplicate it live. You know, a lot of people would say to them, well, "How come you don't sound like the record?" And you know, they would say, well, you know, I don't feel well tonight, or whatever the excuse
some
was.
BS line.
But again, now that's another thing that mystified me. I cannot understand. If you're a businessman, wouldn't you want someone out there that can duplicate it live, rather than putting just it's some group together who didn't even really want to do it?
Yeah,
they were telling people that it was bubblegum, it was garbage, and that they wanted to do their music, which, from what I understand, was underground or something. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't know what underground is.
Small consolation, but you always wanted to be on American Bandstand. Your voice was, but that doesn't really cut it for you, right, Gary?
No. You know, things have developed since I did that PBS show. I have to thank Henry and especially TJ because I've gotten out and about, and you know, I've met a lot of nice people since, and the Monkey Convention also, and you know, and now I'm invited again for the Monkey Convention and the Brady Bunch, and I met a lot of nice people, and I'm very happy because these people are showing me that they're behind me, that they believe in me, and that makes me feel very good. You know, I didn't have that before.
Yeah, I have to tell our listeners, I first met Gary at the Monkeys Convention, and Gary is probably the most approachable star that you will ever come across. You're just such a nice guy, Gary, and you're warm, and you take your time with people. You don't rush anybody along, you know, and for what you've been through, you're just a wonderful, amazing guy to come through it like that.
Well, I just felt, you know, even years ago, I can't let something like this go to my head because I'm doing a job that I feel I get enjoyment out of watching people enjoy me. So that they can dance or clap their hands or tap their feet or whatever, wave their arms. If they get into what I'm doing, then I'm doing my job, and that's what I'm up there. I'm not up there to be someone that, like you said, is not approachable. Or I'm going to say, if someone say to me, "Can you give me an autograph?" and say, "No, man," or walk away from them or go hide in the bathroom or something. That's not what I do.
Now, okay, so you went through obviously a terrible period, 80s, 90s, or 80s. When did it start to turn around, or when did you say, you know what, I think I'm going to reclaim my song?
Well, I'll tell you
How
the
did that
truth,
happen?
Steve. I'm here in Shelton 20 years, and I'd say about 10 years before that, I always felt that I was going to get that second chance. And one day I was sitting on a couch, and I was by myself in my apartment, and I was just sitting there, and it dawned on me that it wasn't going to happen, and that it was over for me.
Oh.
And that is when I really hit rock bottom. That is when I swear I felt like my stomach fell out and fell on the floor. I couldn't even express to you how empty I felt. I was just sitting there, and I'm saying, what do I do? I was sending things out, but I wasn't getting any response. Friends that I knew, people that I knew from years before wouldn't even accept my phone call. They wouldn't even get on the phone to say to me, "Hey, man, how you been? How are you? I'm doing good. How are you doing?" And that is another thing that bothered me. I couldn't understand that. What does it take to get on the phone and say hello to someone?
No, of course, and I'm sure you've experienced it probably more than I have, certainly more than I have. But as we get to a certain age, you do learn to just kind of tunnel your friends, and you know who your real friends are and who the fake friends are.
Absolutely,
right?
Steve.
And you learn to treasure those friendships even more. The good friends. Yeah,
and again, being around positive people, being around people that you enjoy being with, not because let's say you have two people and they both are equally as good with their instruments. You want to be around someone that you're going to enjoy and get along with, as opposed to someone who's going to constantly be a pain in the neck, man.
Yep,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean, and bring you down. You don't need that. I learned that a long time ago. I'm sorry. I mean, even with family, I have to say that too. It's like you could pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. And unfortunately, really, when you think about it, sometimes
I'm glad and kind of agreeing with you. Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And sometimes, there's even people there that you have to kind of steer away from. But like you said, I try to keep myself now in as positive an area as I can, because I want to be able to be creative, which I can still do. I could still sing, and I feel at this point I'm singing better than I ever did. So I'm just looking to get out there and just perform and have some fun.
All someone has to do is to go on YouTube. Excuse me, if they didn't see the PBS pop rock music show, and listen to Gary's vocals. You're obviously singing live, but you would swear it's the record, Gary. You have not lost anything in your voice, and you do that song such justice. And whenever anyone gets the chance to see you, they must run to see you. Do you have anything coming up? I know you mentioned the Monkey Convention.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a show in Jackson, Tennessee, October 12th. There's I don't have the exact amount of people that are on there, but I know Ron Dante is on there, and there's a couple of other names which I can't remember because they didn't see the lineup. But it's supposed to be it's called, I think, Cavalcade of Stars. It's supposed to be at a really nice venue, and I'm looking forward to that. It's something that for a little bit more exposure, and then, like I said, I'm doing a benefit for someone which I have to get information on also in November. I believe it's in Ohio, but I don't have all the information on that yet. I guess he had some type of a brain problem, and he's in a wheelchair and stuff now.
Oh gosh.
I don't know the guy, but they asked me if I would do it, and I said, yeah, I would.
Oh, good for you. Getting back to the PBS show, now who were some of the acts that you saw? Now, it's recorded over a period of days, or is it one long concert? How'd they do that?
No. They flew in 59 acts for the weekend.
So it's not one day.
there was a Friday night show, there was a Saturday night show, and a Sunday night show. And what they did was in between, like they would have little breaks for the audience, because the audience would come in at 5 o'clock, and then they were there until whatever time the show ended, which could be 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. So every so often they would do a break, and then they would announce different portions for different shows as they were editing them together. Gotcha. Because a lot of people couldn't be. For example, their Saturday night for the Saturday night show, they had to leave because they had other things to do, so they had to edit things together. So so far that I remember, they've taken probably five shows off of there already.
Wow! Now, who were some of the acts that you personally spoke to or met or performed with on that night? Night?
The Kingsmen, the Toys. Let me see, who else was on that show?
Because the show we saw, like you said, it could have been a little bit from Friday night, a little bit from Saturday, a little bit from Sunday.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Was Peter Noon there all the time, by the way? I'm a big Herman Sermon.
No. Peter Noonan and Davy Jones came in later, and they edited them into the show. I didn't get to see them.
I see.
And that's another thing. See, Davy passed away not too long after that show, and I believe that is one of the reasons why they said that is one of their top-selling shows.
Yeah, well, I think that I'm sure there is truth to that, but it's also because of the entertainers such as yourself, Gary. Now, before you mentioned Garrett Scott, that's your stage, or that was your stage name, correct?
Yeah.
How did that come about? How did that come up with Garrett Scott?
Well, years ago, I was working with the band The Orchids that I mentioned earlier, the big horn band, and we played several places, and we used to play this one club in Mamaroneck called the Canada Lounge, and there was this girl that used to come there, and she used to call me Garrett. So I just thought about it, and I said, well, that's a nice name. So when the recording thing started to come up, I started to think about using a stage name. I didn't think that it was. I guess a lot of people used it back in those days. It wasn't like I was afraid to use my name, but I started looking around and checking things that I felt went with the Garrett, and I just came up with Garrett Scott.
Yeah, it's more of a showbiz thing than, in other words, just kind of
absolutely.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Garrett Scott, in the 70s, you re-recorded Na Na Hey Hey Kissin' Goodbye. It has kind of a disco feel to it. Tell us about that.
Yeah, in 1978, I met a friend of mine that used to work in the band The Orchids, and we got together, and he brought me in to meet this fella in New York City above the disco there that was very big at the time.
Studio 54?
Yeah, the Club 54, right. It was upstairs. And we struck a deal, and came up with that, and it came out good. But the problem is that it's a hustle, which is a little bit faster than what they're playing today. Like between let's say tempo wise 125 to 130. This is like probably 135, 140. It's like you're really running around with this. But it was a smoker, man. I mean the track was like outrageous. And the people that were taking it out, which was West End Records, they told me that the first night they brought it to the club, they showcased it at this one club in New York City, which was one of the hot discos. And they said that they played it once and that the people were listening to it. And then when it came to the break on it, he said they started to dance and everything. He said, and then they requested it all night.
So a good song is a good song, Gary. A good song is a good song, and Na Na Hey Hey is one of the greatest pop songs ever written and performed by you. Now, unfortunately, 30 minutes has gone by so quickly, Gary. How can people get in touch with you?
Well, I'm on Facebook and I'm on YouTube, and it's it's pretty easy. Just get on there, and as long as there's like friends involved, where I know who they are, I can friend them. Unfortunately, I can't take a chance if someone doesn't have any friends that I can identify with, because I've already been compromised like 3 times already.
Yeah, and with your buddy since you've known since 14, that kind of left a bad taste in your mouth as well, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it's not something that I ever expected, and that's one of the things. I was really hurt by it because I couldn't understand why he did that, and to this day I still don't understand why he did it. Some people have said, they felt that maybe it could be creative jealousy. That I was going to take some of the spotlight away from him because he was one of the first guys from around here to make it. He had Green Tambourine out, and I don't know what it was. I don't know what he had in his mind at the time, but whatever it was, I wasn't included in it.
Well, I'll tell you, if people can make a mental image, of back when things unfortunately weren't good for you, and then see you on that PBS special, commanding that stage, owning the stage. I mean, that's retribution, for me as a fan anyway. I'm glad you got to that point, certainly.
Yeah,
and now
thank you, Steve.
Now there's so much ahead of you, right?
Yeah, well, I've had a few people that have written to me and also called me on the phone to tell me how much they enjoyed the PBS special, that they felt that it was such a special thing that they got from my vocal and from the video that they had to get in touch with me to tell me that. So I thought that was pretty nice.
That's great. All right, so once again, the book, everyone, is called Na Na Hey Hey Kiss Him Goodbye by Mary Rose Cinto, Scinto, Amazon, the book publisher's site. 7.5 million copies sold of the song. The Supremes covered it. The Belmonts covered it. Gary, have you ever heard the Nylons?
Yes, I did. Yeah,
that's
that
a nice version, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. That went 12 in the country. That was different, and they did a good job on it. And also, what's her name now? The girl singer. She did Goodbye.
Mary Hopkin? No, that's another.
No, she's part of the. Christina DeBarge.
Oh, sure, DeBarge. Okay.
Yeah, she had the Goodbye record, and she used the hook in it. And at that same time, we had Jay-Z had a version of Death of an Auto-Tune. He used it in it. And then a rapper from Washington, D.C. did a thing called Chillin', and he did a thing with Lady Gaga, and that was getting airplay also. So we had a good year that year. That was another thing that started to perk me up, too.
Well, we're gonna unfortunately say goodbye, but we're going to listen to the version from 1978.
Great.
It's really cooking version. And Gary, I can't thank you enough. Everyone, Gary DeCARLO on Facebook.
Thank you,
and
Steve.
It's been a pleasure, Gary. Thank you so much.
Anytime, Steve.
Thanks, Gary.